I'm going to go so far as to say that I believe offense, defense, special teams, depth in all three categories, depth. I think the Broncos have the deepest team in the league. They're, especially with the loss of Jordy Nelson in Green Bay. That's a big, big loss for them. The loss of Pouncey in Pittsburgh. Now, you could look at the Broncos and say the loss of Clady is big as well, but
that's what people are looking at.
Yeah, but I think the Broncos are still so deep at every position that they're going to easily overcome the loss of Ryan Clady. I think the Broncos and Seattle, with the addition of Jimmy Graham, probably have the deepest rosters in either league.
Green Bay.
Even without Jordy Nelson?
Jordy Nelson, they still got Cobb. They got a couple of good young wide receivers. I think the way they draft, you and I have talked about it, the way they draft, they have loyal players that stay with them. They lose very few players.
What if Cam Chancellor doesn't end his holdout? What if Cam Chancellor doesn't end up playing for Seattle this year?
You know that's going to get
Probably.
settled. It always gets settled before the season starts. They do a lot of staring, and then they get it settled. That's what we saw with Demaryius Thomas and Des Bryant, right? The hour before it happened, as the bell was ringing, the toll bell was ringing. For whom the bells toll, Des Bryant and Demaryius Thomas. That happens over and over again. The Broncos have always been good about signing their people.
Very few holdouts through the years.
So that is, I would say, the depth that I'm not real wild about the depth in the secondary. You got to depend on. I looked again this morning at the depth chart because I thought you were going to maybe bring up a question like this in the next few days. Tony Carter is dependable. He's not very good. Kayvon Webster hasn't really spit a drop.
It's kind of hit or miss
in the last year or so. And,
he either blows you up or he gets burned.
So you got the four
right?
guys, and then you got David Bruton, who's serviceable.
Are you thinking about Roby?
Yeah, you got the four guys and Roby. They got five guys. So you got to keep 8 or 9. I'm not real wild about the depth there. I'm fine with the depth at linebacker. I'm not real wild about the defensive line. We think that's the.
It'll help when Derek Wolfe gets back from the suspension.
The questions are going to be offensive line and who they keep there, how much depth there is. They have, because of signing Mathis, they got more depth suddenly. Running back, I'm fine with the running back. I'm fine with the wide receivers. I'm not real fine with the tight ends. Owen Daniels, you think. And I've heard other people echo what you said when he came here and we had him on the show that and I talked to him the other night, that he's a Pro Bowl caliber tight end. It's just hard for me to put him in that category.
No, but you also have to remember who's been throwing to him his whole career.
Seattle,
in Houston, not great quarterbacks throwing.
Seattle, Green Bay. Yeah, this is going to surprise you. Arizona. I think there's a lot of depth in Arizona. I think that team they're not sneaky good anymore. I think they're good. They got Carson Palmer back.
Yeah.
Carson Palmer's still a quality quarterback that kind of fell off the map after what happened in Cincinnati and goes to Oakland. Carson Palmer, I think, is a solid quarterback.
If he stays healthy, I think they're a major threat. And they've got really good coaching. Bruce Arians is a really good coach.
And look at the depth on that team. I think you'd be surprised that that's a veteran. Who else? How do you leave? I think Baltimore has depth. I haven't looked enough at Pittsburgh. I think they're thin defensively.
They are, as is Indianapolis.
Yeah.